Hey, Lorne here from Dominion Lending Center's expert financial optimalfinance.ca. So Toronto is introducing a new vacant home tax. So here is what you need to know. The City of Toronto is introducing a vacant home tax in 2023, which is a measure to increase the supply housing in the city. The City of Toronto's vacant home tax is meant to discourage others from leaving their residential properties unoccupied or vacant, and they're going to be facing a hefty tax bill because of it if they do that. The vacant home tax is going to be paid on top of the existing property taxes. How much is this tax? So it can actually be substantial. If you own a property in the City of Toronto and the property is vacant for more than 6 months, you could face a tax liability of 1% of the assessed value of the property. For example, if your property is assessed at $1 million, your vacant home tax bill would be $10,000 for the year. Again, that is an addition to your property tax. So how is all this going to work? Beginning in February 2023, all residential property owners in Toronto will be required to declare the status of their property annually using a portal that the city will be launching in December of 2022. Declarations must be made by the homeowner or someone acting on behalf of the homeowner and will determine whether the vacant home tax applies and is payable. So which situations will be subject to this vacant home tax? So a property is considered vacant if it hasn't been occupied for more than 6 months during the previous calendar year or otherwise to be vacant under the bylaw. The 6-month period does not have to be consecutive, so there are certain exemptions that may apply. What if I have a rental property with vacant periods? You can declare the property as occupied as a tenanted property. The property must be occupied by one or more tenants for 6 months throughout the year, or it will potentially be subject to the vacant home tax. What if my property is vacant because I'm doing renovations or construction? You may receive an exemption under the bylaw providing that your renovation project meets the following conditions. A, occupancy and normal use of the vacant property is prevented by the repairs and renovations. Second, all necessary permits have been issued for repairs and renovations. And third, the city's chief building official is the opinion that the repairs or renovations are being actively carried out without unnecessary delay. Oh man, this is just so much more I have to worry about. Are there any exemptions to this vacant home tax? Yes, there are several other exemptions, such as the death of the principal owner. If the principal resident that lived in the property is actually maybe in a care facility right now. If legal ownership of that property has been transferred within the previous year. If the property is required for full-time employment would be another exemption. Or if there's a court order that prohibits the occupancy of the property, that would be another exemption. What if I fail to fill out my declaration for my property? Well, according to the City of Toronto, failing to declare your property status by the deadline of February 2nd, 2023 is subject to a $250 fine to the property owner. If the property owner is found to make false statements in this declaration, they can face a fine from $250 to $10,000 for each offense. Okay, so how will the city know that my property is actually vacant? So it's not yet known how the city plans to inspect or enforce the status provided by the annual declaration. However, according to the City of Toronto's website, they may audit your declaration, asking for documentation to prove occupancy of that particular property. Such documentation may include an Ontario vehicle registration or vehicle insurance documents of any occupants and owner, government-issued personal identification including driver's license, the Ontario identity card, and any occupant of the owner, proof of Ontario health coverage or a valid health card of the occupant and the owner, income tax returns, and income tax notices showing that you are declaring rent in that particular property or that property is actually declared as your principal residence, lease agreements to the property, wills, grants, probates, administration in respect to owner, if it's an estate sale. Okay, so they may ask for that one. Employment contracts. So as I mentioned, some of the exemptions, if it's necessary for employment contracts, pay statements, records of employment of any occupant, verification of the resident is in hospital or long-term care or supportive care with respect to it being the owner. Court orders preventing the renting of the residential property could be another way. Insurance certificates for the homeowners or tenants insurance, statutory declarations, affidavits regarding the occupancy, and and I'm sure this is actually going to be expanded. Those are just some of the ways that you would actually have to show that the property is being occupied. So bottom line, if you own a property in the city of Toronto, keep an eye out for this upcoming declaration and the upcoming declaration deadline. You want to make sure that you don't miss this deadline. If you have a property that will be vacant for more than 6 months in a tax year, the city of Toronto vacant home tax can be substantial. So keep it in mind when considering a property and buying a property in the city of Toronto. Any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.